Thank you for tuning in to the Practical Preservation Podcast. Please take a moment to visit our website, practicalpreservationservices.com, for additional information and tips to help you restore your historical home. If you've not done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and also like us on Facebook. Welcome to the Practical Preservation Podcast, hosted by Danielle and Jonathan Kepperling. Kepperling Preservation Services is a family-owned business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the preservation of our built architectural history for today's use as well as future generations. Our weekly podcast provides you with expert advice specific to the unique needs of renovating a historic home, educating by sharing our From the Trenches preservation knowledge and our guests' expertise, balancing modern needs while maintaining the historical significance, character, and beauty of your period home.
Today on the Practical Preservation Podcast, I have with me Michael Olmert. He's the author of Kitchen, Smokehouses, and Privies. So thank you for joining me today, Michael.
I'm honored to be here.
Okay. So tell me about your background.
Oh, well, I went to graduate school and got 2 degrees in English literature, and I was a medievalist. And then I had a really good 18th century professor in college. And so I began teaching 18th century courses. And one year I was teaching a number of 18th century poems and mid-century things. And I noticed, I said, it might be good. I said to the students, it might be interesting to you, since I was teaching the College Park.
Right.
And I said to my students, if anyone wants to get some extra credit, there are 18th century houses in Alexandria, Virginia, or Georgetown, or Annapolis especially, and some in Prince George's County near the campus that were built or constructed or added on to in exactly the same years of the novels and poetry that you're reading this semester.
Right.
I'm just saying you have carte blanche to go visit any of them and walk around with the docent and take notes and write 5 pages on the thing, and that's when I started. And then when the kids started to do it, I started taking. I lived in Annapolis for 25 years.
Oh yes.
And the 18th century housing there is just remarkable. It was the capital.
Yeah.
So and it was I was knocked out at how amazing the students were at responding to the buildings this way. But I teach at the University of Maryland. All the kids are very smart and have been for a long time. It's hard to get in there now, and especially if you live in the state, it's a real deal to come to Maryland. So all my students, first of all, I'm still teaching there. I think I'm the oldest person in the English department, but the kids are all smarter than I am. They just don't know it yet. I just have more experience than they do. That's all.
Yeah.
You know that. So
yeah, I agree with you. I've had two summers of interns, and they're just exceptional. And they're like, their early 20s, and they have things figured out better than I do.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to stay like that. I mean, a little modesty and regard. Very few of my professors took me seriously. And maybe in the whole, my graduate, from BA to PhD took like 10 or 12 years. And maybe 5 of them were really nice to me, and the rest just tolerated me. And maybe that was my fault. I don't know. Looking back, I'm really nice to my students because I really believe in them, and they're easy to believe in. So there we go. I'm talking too much about what you.
And I agree with you. I had experiences with some professors that were just. I wouldn't treat people that way, no matter what they did. And I could go off on a tangent, but I won't.
I mean, I just think that authoritative rule in education is really past its sell-by date. Because some of those guys, and can I just say they were always guys, were Nazis. Yeah. They knew everything. Don't question anything. Just let me talk for an hour and 15 minutes and take notes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one that I was going to go on my tangent about, that's exactly how it was. And I had gone to him. And I said, it's my parents' 25th anniversary, my grandparents' 50th. They're having a celebration together. I'll be gone it was an extra day off of Labor Day.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you already started out with an F in my course then. Yeah. And I was like, one day.
So, and I just don't want to be, and I don't think I don't want to be too negative here. I mean, my graduate education was really good, and I had 5, maybe 6 professors in that 12 years that were ridiculously nice to me and shared everything with me and changed my life.
Right. Yeah. And those are the people that do change lives. Yeah. It's not the people that are being ridiculous.
But so now I just, so that's the important part.
Yeah. I was going to say that's a really interesting assignment though, to connect what you're doing in English to the 18th century, like physical place. That was really
so that taught me about studying the material past. Mm-hmm. That the material past really can broaden and illuminate the intellectual past that's on the page.
Right.
So if you look at a building and look at the way its windows are designed and look at the way its hallways are laid out, and then look at the backyard for the 18th century in the Mid-Atlantic. That's my, I'm really good at small 18th century architecture in the backyards of Maryland, Virginia, and the Carolinas. But I do, I mean, there's some things there's a couple of things in Georgia, and there's a couple of things in Pennsylvania, and there's in Massachusetts, and there's a bunch, of course, in England, because my book is about that small architecture, and it comes in 8 categories. So there's smokehouses, privies, kitchens, dairies, offices, which were, because for some reason, and this starts really late in the 18th century, if you were a lawyer or a big agricultural farmer, for some reason, they wanted that out of the household. So a separate building for offices too. Yeah. A building for dovecotes to keep doves, because doves give you 3 things. They give you feathers for pillows. They give you meat that you can eat. And they give you guano to put on your fertilizer for your kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Farm. So really good. And only the very richest people had doves, because they were really well-designed buildings. And some people had 500 doves. There are examples in England of people having 1,500 doves.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So doves and ice houses. And so those last 2, the dove house and the ice house, are for very, very posh families. They want to have, in the summertime, they want to have cool drinks. Often not putting the ice in the drink, but putting it around the wine bottle to cool it down.
Oh, yeah.
Because they would collect the ice in the wintertime, and it would have leaves and sticks in it. So, and we have complaints about people, drinking their drink at Monticello. Let's just say Monticello. I don't have an example there, but I can't think of one offhand. But people say, "Hey, there's sticks in my drink." I don't. So it was rare to have the ice in the drink in the 18th century, but it wasn't unheard of.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that did I do all 8 of them?
Smokehouses, privies, dairies, offices, dovecotes, and ice houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we only have 6.
Oh, so laundries.
Oh, yeah.
And kitchens.
Oh, I didn't write kitchen down. You said kitchen, but I just didn't write it fast enough.
Yeah, so kitchens, laundries, smokehouses, dairies, privies, offices, dovecotes. And so the other thing that's interesting to me, especially in the Mid-Atlantic, is that these backyard areas, a lot of these buildings had, especially laundries and kitchens, these buildings were a story and a half. Okay. And that second story upstairs is where a lot of slaves lived.
Yes.
Now, I got interested in this because I was asked in the middle 80s to write a new guidebook for colonial Williamsburg. The one that they'd had before was developed in the 1930s, and they hadn't made any changes to it. And here's one big change. It was called the Official Guidebook to Colonial Williamsburg, published in 1985. It was the first one that really mentioned slavery in a big way. Right. The one that they sold before that mentioned the word slave or slavery once or twice, but it was important. But something remarkable happened. In just about the middle 80s, or a little bit, I guess it was, but let's just say 1980.
Right.
2 historians at Colonial Williamsburg looked at the census for 1770. Now, 1770 is an important year because that's the year that everything is the baseline year for the restoration of Williamsburg. They want to take it back to 1770.
Okay.
So these 2 people, Kevin Kelly and My brain is just departed from me.
Mhm.
Anyhow, these two historians discovered that a census taken in that year says that Williamsburg was more than 50% Black,
Right.
which it would shock people.
Oh, did it?
It was the capital. We knew there were lots of slaves in Virginia, but we
Right.
didn't have. Now, there's one caution. We're not certain that all of them lived in town, because a lot of the rich people had farms outside of town.
Right.
And so some of the slaves may have been living there, but on their census, they said, like Peyton Randolph was one of the signers of the Declaration.
Right.
And he was the chairman of the Committee of Correspondence for Virginia, really big political
Mhm.
and man about town and man about the colony. He had 27 slaves, but he has a big backyard and lots of buildings out there at a very high level, because it's all been reconstructed based on, Williamsburg doesn't do anything unless they have evidence,
The documentation,
either
right?
from archaeology or other documentary things.
Yeah.
And generally that's been the way ever since Williamsburg was founded. There's something happened in architecture. I know I'm all over the place here in this discussion.
You're okay. I'm enjoying it.
So there's something happened in the history, in architectural history, in starting seriously just after World War II. There's a man called Howard Colvin. Boy, I'm really great with names today. Pronunciation. Howard Colvin was a architectural historian at Oxford. He created something that we now call the Colvin Revolution, in which you don't say anything about buildings based on their beauty or aesthetic considerations. You talk about what the evidence you have, what documents, and what it looked like then, because buildings have changes made to them.
Right. Often.
So anyhow, he brought a scientific attention to the history of architecture that had been more about beauty and connoisseurship and taste. Right. Imagine taste.
Yeah.
Which always changes. So that's when they founded Colonial Williamsburg, starting roughly in 1926. And over the next, it really doesn't open until just about 36, 37, 38, 40, just before the war.
Mm-hmm.
That Colvin Revolution is what drives everything that they're going to do. And they say, we'll take it back. They took everything out of the town that wasn't there at 1770. Something else happened to Colonial Williamsburg, and that helped us all to this day. And that is the capital of Virginia had to be moved from Williamsburg to Richmond in 1781, because the capital was very vulnerable to the British. So they moved the capital, and that left Williamsburg after 1781 an economic backwater.
Right.
And if people don't have money, they don't mess with their houses.
That's
they
true.
Just live out their time in them. Yeah. So now we come to 1936, 26 through 36 through 40, and they strip out everything. There are 88 original 18th century buildings. And of those 88 buildings, 35 of them are outbuildings.
That's really interesting.
And they're really interesting to me because, by the way, they've reconstructed lots of other buildings, but always on archaeological footprints of the building. So we know that. And other, sometimes, a visiting Russian soldier would draw, bored one afternoon in 1750, would draw a picture of a house that he likes of Duke of Gloucester Street. That's the main street. So it has to have, anything that they reconstructed had to have a lot of evidence. So anyhow, so just for people listening to this is, preservation is really interesting. The two most important buildings that they rebuilt there are the Governor's Palace and the Capitol. Well, in the Governor's Palace, they had a lot more data. Thomas Jefferson, when he lived in the Governor's Palace, drew it. Actually, Thomas Jefferson never lived in a house they didn't draw.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have that, and there's other drawings of it and paintings of it, things like that, and lots of documentary, because the governor lived there. Right. The Capitol, because the Capitol burned, and they don't have as much evidence, and because of that, some of the architects And it was a Boston architectural firm that was overseeing the reconstruction of Williamsburg for the Rockefeller Foundation. Those architects were generally trained in the Beaux-Arts tradition, and they tarted it up a little bit. They made it a lot prettier than it really needed to be, and so we questioned some of their choices. There's a door surround which is just way too cute and
too fancy for early.
Fancy. Yeah. So anyhow, so Williamsburg really has. So the work that I did for Williamsburg, once I did that. The official guidebook, and that was for sale from 1985 to 2015, and they have a new one now, and it's really big and it's hard to carry around. Anyhow, but a lot of people. By the way, I have a lot of time for Colonial Williamsburg. This is not. I don't want to turn this into an ad for Colonial Williamsburg, but all those people there. Colonial Williamsburg is the most studied 18th century town in the world. The world. And it has a big staff. I don't know what the number is, but it used to be something like 250 people. And many of them had PhDs in certain, there's a staff to study every aspect of the 18th century: politics, constitutional law, ceramics, textiles, art.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then they have all these craftsmen that are building in the old way, using old tools, no power tools.
Right.
Sawing giant boards in a saw pit where one guy's in the ground.
I've seen that.
Anyhow, so I have a lot of time for Williamsburg. They do things the right way, and that takes longer.
It does.
So
it does.
You can't. So this. Let me just do one other story. Mm-hmm. When they first started in Williamsburg, they one summer, I guess it was, they needed some more logs, or because they were building something. They went out in the woods and they began cutting down trees. And within 15 minutes, they had to stop, because once they started, cutting into, they were using original saws.
Right.
So many insects, they were bitten so much.
Oh my goodness.
They just fled. They all fled. They had to leave the woods and go and put alcohol on themselves and recover. And then one of the historians looked at the farm records. In the 18th century, nobody cut trees in the summertime.
That makes sense.
You cut trees in after the insects die. Yeah. And when the insects start coming back in February, March, you stop. So there's no.
You have a short period.
So you see how important the documentary evidence. If somebody hadn't done that, we wouldn't have known that.
Right. Right. And it makes sense. Like, it's some of that knowledge, once you don't need it anymore, does it get passed down?
Anyhow, so all your people should go to Colonial Williamsburg. It's a really nice place. And
I agree. I agree with you.
And the collegiality was really nice. Whenever I ask anybody a question, they always answer the question. If they didn't know it, they try and or they tell me where to find the answer, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't any of this business of it's proprietary information.
Right. Yeah.
Nice people.
Yeah. I know that at one of the historic sites here in Lancaster County, their kitchen is a story and a half, and I'm pretty sure that because there's documentation that there were slaves living there. I'm pretty sure that that's where they were living.
If you think about that, and that is the worst place in the world to live between April and October.
Oh yeah,
it was hot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it was above the kitchen.
Yeah. So we have studies of deaths on especially in the tidewater, and it's malaria and dysentery, but a lot of sepsis. So you think in the summertime, slaves, they didn't have mattresses, but they had a mattress ticking that they'd put weeds in and greenery, and they'd change that every couple of weeks or whenever it was.
Yeah.
But from April, when it was hot, from April to October, you couldn't sleep upstairs. By the way, the kitchen fire is always going. It's always hot.
So it would be really hot.
Yeah. So it really hot. So they'd all get their mattress ticking and come down the ladder from the second floor and go out and lay on the grass, which meant they're in the tidewater. They're going to be chewed up, and then
all kinds of
and they
bugs.
scratch.
Yeah,
and it bleeds.
Yeah,
and it gets infected, and there's nothing to do about an infection.
They don't have antibiotics.
Yeah. So it's sepsis and dysentery, but the third thing is suicide too, depression.
Oh, yeah.
And so something about the architect. This is what's important. But it's not. We want to look at these small buildings in the backyard. because they're beautiful or whatever. It tells us about life.
Right.
You think about the kitchens before the second quarter of the 19th century, all the kitchens just had a hole in the ceiling and a ladder going up.
Yeah.
So if you got sick or you wanted a little privacy with your girlfriend or wife,
Yeah.
you had to come in the kitchen. The two of you had to climb up the ladder and get made fun of by all the other people.
Right.
So you didn't have any privacy, and that weighs on you after a time. That the pressure of being a slave, as if everything else isn't horrible, you don't have any privacy.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the pressure from the abolition movement seems to be happening, because after 1825, people start doing two things: building staircases that go up. They don't have to climb up a rugged ladder.
Yeah.
And another thing, if it's a brand new kitchen, a separate door with an enclosed staircase. See? That's just a shocking, and that's why we do preservation. If you just go and say, here's a famous, we need to have a 18th century style kitchen in our backyard. So you select the most prettiest one you've ever seen and you build that.
Yeah.
But pretty didn't count.
Right. Yeah. No, it was only pretty on the outside.
Yeah.
So that
I've talked, by the way, can I just say something in honor of Ed Chappell? Ed Chappell was the head of the architecture research department at Williamsburg for a long time. He died last summer. He died ridiculously young and of a heart problem. And he was terrific. And half the things I'm telling you today, I learned from him. But I'm sort of upset I can't talk. He's an example of the great scholars that they had at Williamsburg, and there's still he was a big loss, but it was great that we had him for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So
anyway, and his knowledge continues on.
Yeah, well, half the things I said to you today.
Yeah.
But we all stand on the shoulders of other people, and he had good teachers at some time too. But he had good eyes.
Yeah.
And he liked to share what he saw with other. There's anyhow. So that kitchen change, that the building itself can tell us about history. That we can now use our imaginations a little more to be that, to say their name.
Right.
Say that name. What would it be like if I never had any peace with the woman that I loved?
Right.
But then, it's without being made fun with, it's something like that.
Yeah. That it's.
But the architecture tells this story.
Yeah. I had never thought about that, but even in the bigger buildings where it wasn't a separate outbuilding, but the back staircase, I noticed that the doors and those changes. So yeah, I totally see where you see that architectural change, and now I'll know that and know to look for that when I'm looking at buildings.
So the other thing about the backyard is, it really is a place where slaves lived and worked. They built those buildings and then they lived it.
Yeah.
So that's remarkable. The other thing is about Williamsburg, that still the backyards in a lot of places, they're just too pretty. Backyard, you had all sorts of things. You had pigs there, cows there for a while. Usually they were, a lot of people had big animals out on their farms outside of town.
But at least the smaller animals, chickens and things like that.
Yeah, but there was a lot of industrial noise back then.
Yeah.
If you're cooking for a big household, there's all this smoke out there, and
right.
The only place that was always clean was the dairy. You couldn't have a speck, couldn't have a spider in there. It was always plastered inside with cove ceiling. Those were beautiful buildings, but because if milk gets contaminated by anything, it can kill you.
Right. And they understood
so you
that.
Can't have things falling out of the ceiling. You can't have spider webs up there. So it's got to be plastered.
Yeah.
So that tells us a lot about it.
Yeah, that does. Were the dairies, were they just to hold the milk, or did they milk in those?
Milk didn't last very long. So there wasn't a lot of milk being drunk. So everything was changed to cheese as soon as they could. The soft cheese or hard cheese. And that was just because of the absence of refrigeration.
Yeah, they weren't pasteurizing. Yeah.
So the other, if it's a ruined building and you think it was a dairy might have been there, the diagnostic is it'll be its floor level will be about 21 inches below the normal floor, because they want to get it, because the I think I'm making up this number. I'm trying to remember this number, but I think 5 feet underground, it's always 54 degrees. It can be 90 up here in the sun.
Yeah. I think you're about right. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. So if you go down 21 inches, they don't want to go too deep because of flooding and things like that.
Right.
So you always go in and then you step down 3 steps and then you're down at the level.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the door on a dairy will always be on the north side, because you never want direct sun in there.
Oh, that makes sense.
And the dairy, if it's surviving above the walls, there will never be windows. There will be louvered openings, but they'll be up under the eaves, and they're really wide eaves. So you can see pictures of those in my. So those are the diagnostics. I mean, I can look at the ruin of a building or its archaeological footprint and say, oh no. This is, first of all, they're always square too, because they wanted to put a pyramidal roof on them.
Oh yeah.
A pyramid doesn't fit on the top of an elongated building.
Right.
It's got to be, all 4 sides had to be the same.
That'd be equal.
And then it looks right. And these are the rules of architecture. They're not, these guys, these black architects and builders and craftsmen, they're going to build it the right way. Architecture has a lot of rules.
It does.
Whoever breaks those rules doesn't get to keep being an architect. Yeah. So. And
it's a lot of geometry and a lot of, laying out to get it to come out right at the end. So, I know that in your book you talk about buildings that were octagons and hexagons. Was there a reason for that?
Well, the book has 2 chapters, one on hexagons and one on octagons. And both of them are really important in sacred architecture. And I mean, after not, this rule is sort of not hard and fast, but I'm just saying in Europe, every early baptismal font that I've ever seen after 1200 and before, say, 1850, 1875, they're always octagonal. And that is because 8 is the perfect number. 8 symbolizes the first day of the week and the 8th day of the week. And all medieval literature, my PhD is in medieval literature. Yeah. So it happens again and again. They say, Christ was born into eternity on the 8th day of the week, the 8th day of the week. Right. Because that's the eternal number. And in one of Chaucer's great poems, the man's name is Troilus, and he's dead, and he's looking down on earth, and he says, "The 7 days of my life are over, and this is my 8th day of eternity, and I'm in heaven now, and I'm happy." So everybody knew this was the kind of thing that Christians knew. We're talking about mainly European architecture,
right,
which is mainly Christian. And so everybody knew what that meant. And I think it comes from, when the Jews who are Christians come to Rome, they have to have baptisms, and they start doing it in big bathhouses, Roman bathhouses. For some reason, those are always octagonal.
Yeah.
And if you look at the baptistry, say you've been to Florence, the baptistry in front of that was a building to have baptisms. It's an octagonal building. So
that's interesting.
Most of the time, if you go to any of the churches if you're going to England and you visit a county, a parish church, even in London, in 95% of the cases, the baptismal font will be octagonal. So I talk about the nature of octagons, and and some so the hexagon, however, is the number of repentance and forgiveness. And so in churches that have pulpits, in most cases the pulpits have 6 sides. They're hexagons. And so and what do you get from the pulpit? You get stories of repentance
Right.
and forgiveness, and that, and so this sort of in Williamsburg, the tower, the bell tower and lantern over the courthouse of 1770 is six-sided. See, repentance and punishment. You know, you're gonna get two of those things in that building.
Yeah.
and whereas on the church of Bruton Parish Church, the tower is octagonal, and that represents eternity.
Yeah.
So and architects knew this, and I won't say that everybody in the 18th century walking up and down the Duke Gloucester Street knew the distinction. They maybe they didn't know that, but culturally they did.
Right. Yeah.
And the ones that had a lot of education could have explained that to them. But everybody said, I'm not sure that someone walking down the street would have said, "Oh, why does that church have a six-side thing?"
Right.
I don't think anybody would have complained about that.
Yeah.
But someone might have. But they could have known that.
Yeah.
So so those two. I just talked about symbolism in architecture.
Yeah, that's interesting. What have you encountered as like some of the challenges in preserving or restoring outbuildings?
Well, I think the biggest problem is people that have an old building like that, and they just try and restore it themselves, and they always tart it up and make it more. The county town where I'm, Talbot County, Maryland, Easton, has a lovely smokehouse that's been restored, and they did a beautiful job. They put a round-headed over the round-headed. They took the square lintel over the door and made it round-headed. So they tarted it up, and it looks beautiful.
Goodness.
And they put a transom light. That there's never ever been a smokehouse that. And they put a window in it. Smokehouses don't.
I was just you can't have. Before you even said that, I was saying you can't have a transom if you're going to smoke in there.
The whole point is to keep the smoke inside.
Right.
And instead of windows, they take like a pattern of 6 or 8 bricks out of each wall.
Right.
And because the smoke, if you have it completely sealed up, the fire goes out.
Right.
And the
You
point of
need
a
some air
smokehouse
to
is
draw.
you keep the fire going on in there for 3 weeks, and it dries out all the meat. And the other thing is they never have a floor because there's all that goop that's
Oh yeah.
You first of all, you kill the pigs in December. You put them in tubs of salt water, and that water is like mixture of blood and salt water, and it drains out, and it just drains into the ground. Sometimes there's a brick floor, but it's not. And there's no mortar. It's just the water goes in. The watery mess goes in between there. And the other thing inside is there's never any. It's just wood, and there's creosote over all the wood inside there. So but it's a well-made building because you don't want rats to get in it.
Right.
And you don't want neighbors to come and steal your meat, because once you kill those pigs or those cows and dry the meat, that's your meat locker.
Right.
So you'll always have a big, strong door with big hinges on them too, so that it's going to take people a while to get in there to steal your meat.
Right.
That's the meat you'll be eating all through the
all year. Yeah.
You only kill pig every once in a while, and we have this from the notes. I think Landon Carter, the owner of a huge Virginia estate, it's called King Carter. He complains in his, I don't know whether it's his diary or a letter to someone, it doesn't make any difference. He says, well, we killed a pig yesterday, and we had to eat it all, so we didn't finish it. I gave the rest of it to the slaves.
Oh.
And because he couldn't store it.
Right.
Because it'll go bad. So
he
generously gave it to his slaves. So but that's the only time you'll see them killing a pig or an animal in the summertime, if they're going to eat it all right away.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise,
the weather is just not conducive to, especially with no refrigeration.
Yeah. Also, it's not conducive to keeping your animals alive in the wintertime, because there's not enough for them to forage on. They lose weight in the wintertime, and so there's that sort of stuff.
So you've mentioned your guidebook for Colonial Williamsburg, but I did notice that you've written a lot of other books. Do you want to talk about them a little bit?
Oh, I'll do. I wrote a book called The Smithsonian Book of Books. That was 1992. And it's a big format book that is about everything about the history of books. It's 24 chapters, one for each letter of the Greek alphabet. And it's about the history of printing, it's about the history of manuscripts, it's about the history of children's books. It's a lovely book, and it has 375 illustrations, most of them in color.
Yeah.
And it's a big format book, and it's out of print now, but you can get it on Amazon. Someone told me it goes for $100 on Amazon, but it's a really great book. And
it sounds pretty. Yeah.
It's a remarkable book. It's Smithsonian spend a lot of money on it, but it's out of print now, so I don't get any more money from it. So, but I think it'd be a great Christmas present for a person who says they like books. It's called the Smithsonian Book of Books. Amazon, not Amazon. Amazon may have some secondhand, but it's out of print now.
Okay.
It's published by the Smithsonian Institution Press.
Okay.
2009. No, sorry, 1992.
1992. Okay.
God, that's 30 years ago.
It is. Yeah.
Shocking.
We were I was in a meeting and the last countywide architectural survey was done like about that time. I think it was like 1991, 92. Mm-hmm. And we were in this meeting discussing it. And I just said, I just want everybody to know that I was in middle school when this was done. So maybe we should redo it. So I don't think sometimes they know what to do with me. So
thanks for your interest in my books. There a lot of everything I said today is in that book, but maybe I talked too much about Williamsburg today, but Williamsburg was really an extra continuing education for
yeah, I can imagine just working with all of the people that have such a narrow specialty that you can talk to and interact. I would love that. I just
Well, the internationally famous textile historian at Williamsburg, Linda Baumgarten, she found there was a kind of like a sampler that was used by laundry maids, and it said shirts and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then it had pillowcases, and it had sheets and all the items of laundry that were done. So when she sent them out, she would put maybe a pin over 6 sheets and 3 pillowcases,
so she could keep track,
2 shirts, and other things, smalls, which is underwear, those sorts of things. So she had this, and it was made like a sampler, all the names, all the categories of clothing, and then numbers so when she got back the things clean, she would check it off and make sure someone didn't steal someone's underwear. Just a remarkable document. And that's the opening picture of that. I mean, this really was a place to work, a job of work. It was efficiently. And by the way, people have enough money to hire someone to make a sampler to save money with the other things. I mean, it was just amazing.
That is.
And this was all in the hands of their slaves that are doing everything for them.
Yeah. That it's amazing, because I think, and I read a book last year or the year before called The History of Black Business in America. And it talks about the complex societies in Africa and how those got transported here. And it's not often acknowledged, or it wasn't previously. I think more and more it's changing, that some of the people running the plantations, while the head of the household was away doing whatever they did, otherwise, whether it was politics or working in the city, were the slaves. They were running everything and keeping things running efficiently, and that was a form of business, and that they were running businesses even if it wasn't for themselves. Yeah. But there was for a long time this narrative that they needed somebody to tell them what to do. They couldn't do things by themselves because they just didn't have that natural, and it was all to continue to perpetuate slavery. So, but they wouldn't be able to do this without somebody telling them how to do it or what to do. Yeah. But so I think that's something that I think more and more as we learn and more of these primary sources come out showing, I think that really will make a difference in the narrative of our historical telling of that time period.
Well, anybody that's been, I spent a lot of time writing for television too. And just between you and me and everyone that's listening to this show, executives in the television industry have way too much power and have very little competence.
Right. Yeah.
And they're in charge, but they're not doing anything. Well, they can't do the work, but they can just run things and go to meetings.
Right.
And there were times when a person like that would tell me to make a change in the script in some movie, and first of all, it was a stupid change. And I just didn't do it. I just said, well, okay, I'll do it. And I didn't. And you know what? I never got a call back. I thought you told me, because they never watch television.
No.
They go out drinking and go to parties and whatever the hell they're doing. But they're not, they're just rich people. They're going there to the $900 dinner, with the $70 cigars and all that stuff. They're not watching television to see if something that was on the National Geographic Channel has the words in it that
right. Yeah.
My experience is a lot of people not everybody, and certainly not in academia, but some look, a lot of people that make it to the top of the tree are boosted up by their incompetence, and the way to get rid of them is to push them up higher.
Yes, I've heard that. So, what trends and challenges do you see in preservation from your point of view?
I think the biggest problem is money. There isn't enough preservation being done. And B is education. There isn't enough people who realize how important saving old buildings is.
Right.
We don't even, I probably 2 generations ago, the things that I've said to you that I learned from other people about those old buildings, no one knew that.
Right.
It's just people keeping an eye open, looking at the evidence.
Yeah.
I just remember what Ed Chappell said to me when he said, this building has to be made after 1825. It's not as early. And I said, why? And he said, I've looked at hundreds of slave cabins. They don't have a staircase that's enclosed until after at least 1825. So I don't care when this building was built. That staircase didn't happen until after 1825.
Right.
So that he's using that evidence, and that wouldn't have occurred to anyone before him. Yeah.
And now that you've shared that with me, I will now look at buildings with a different light too.
Yeah. See, because the title of my first chapter is "Every Building is a Text." It can be read like a book. Yeah. So I think it's our generation, and we'll pass that on the next generation, and they'll find new things.
Right. Yeah. And that's how I think that's the natural order of things.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up that you thought of while we were talking?
I didn't. I just wanted to say that I've been really lucky. I had good teachers. Williamsburg couldn't have been nicer to me. And I just think education, kids need to read more. School teachers should be all millionaires. They should pay a lot more.
Yeah.
And I know some of them take advantage of them, but some millionaires take advantage of the money that they have too. Yeah. I'm just saying, you can't spend enough money to recover this country in education. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
People have to stop listening to stuff that they've heard and figure and look at the evidence and read and try and understand people instead of telling people what you know about them.
Right. Yeah.
I know these people are like this, so they don't deserve that. This is what I know about these people. You don't know anything about anybody else. And the other thing that education tells people is, you're not better. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not worse than everybody else. Yeah. But I'm not generally better than anybody else. And that's a good way. If I already thought I was better than you, why would I tell you anything?
Right.
It's just, but some people go through life thinking that they're better than a certain class or type or color of people.
Right.
That's very true. Who would ever believe that? Yeah. Unless you need to believe that for some other damn reason. Right. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to curse on your thing, but
you're fine. You're fine. No, I agree with you. And I think that I usually feel sorry for those people, because I usually feel like that they're trying to compensate for something else that has nothing to do with me. But I agree that they're definitely struggling. So where can someone purchase your books?
Amazon. This one is available at Amazon. I think it's like $26 or $27.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that range.
You can also get it directly from Cornell University Press.
Okay.
So it was published by Cornell University Press in 2009. They just reprinted it. I just got some new copies. And Cornell University Press is a fine press, so I'm happy about it.
Very good. And if someone was interested in contacting you, how would you recommend them to contact you?
I'm in the English department at the University of Maryland, and that's in College Park, Maryland, and the zip is 20742.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I thank you.
Oh, I'm really honored to be here, and I think your podcast is really interesting, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Practical Preservation Podcast. The resources discussed during this episode are on our website at practicalpreservationservices.com/podcast. If you received value from this episode and know someone else that will get value from it as well, please share it with them. Join us next week for another episode of the Practical Preservation Podcast. For more information on restoring your historic home, visit practicalpreservationservices.com.